Hi guys, I'm Ian Forrest, and in today's video we are going to be counting down the top 10 stadium cards from the Sword and Shield era of the Pokemon TCG. Now at number 10 we actually have a tie, and that's because these two stadiums do very similar things for very different types of Pokemon. Stormy Mountains searches for basic electric or basic dragon Pokemon and putting it on their bench, very much like Brooklet Hill used to do for water and fighting types. Turffield Stadium also is a very specific Pokemon search, but this time it searches for grass evolution Pokemon and puts in your hand. Both of them do specific type searches that pulls things out from your deck, and because they're so niche and specific, I didn't feel like one really went above another, so I put them together here at number 10. Next up we have Crystal Cave at number 9, and this also is very similar to an old card, Rough Seas. Each turn, players get to heal 30 damage from either, for Crystal Cave, Steel, Dragon type Pokemon, or Rough Seas, Water and Electric. Crystal Cave got a lot of use, especially with the rise of Pokemon like Duraludon taking advantage of that tankiness, and I think Crystal Cave and its utility deserves its spot here on the list. Next, we have Magma Basin, and energy acceleration, even in the form of a stadium, has always been powerful. Magma Basin allows players to attach a fire energy from their discard pile to one of their bench Pokemon, putting 2 damage counters on the Pokemon they attach to. And though fire types didn't see a ton of play, this stadium is still very powerful and is worth its spot on this list. Glimwood Tingle is the next one, and you will probably be surprised that I put a silly card reflipping gimmicky allowing stadium to creep up this high on this list, but I genuinely believe this is a good stadium and allows for more fun strategies because so many fun and one-off decks used Glimwood Tingle to see great success. Glimwood Tingle, I feel like, is one of the better stadiums, is better than the stadiums before it, and I definitely love it. The last stadium before we reach our top 5 is Lost City, though this is a relatively new card and hasn't really had its full impact realized. I think Lost City is actually a very impactful card, controlling your opponent's ability to recover powerful options. By knocking out threats and making it so your opponents can't recover them, I think that makes this stadium quite powerful indeed. Now before I continue with this top 10 list, I would greatly appreciate it if you gave this video a like and left a comment down below about what were some of your favorite stadium cards from this era of the Pokemon TCG. Now let's get on to number 5. Now, you could debate the validity of some of the choices I made earlier in this list, but the top 5 I feel like are really good stadiums and deserve their spots on this list. Jubilife Village is the first one, though not as broken as a certain coveted card. Jubilife Village is very good. It is essentially a Shuffle Draw 5 supporter as a stadium, and that is just very good. Collapse Stadium is next, and I actually really love this card. It reminds me of Parallel City, which had 2 options on either side, but the most memorable side was limiting your opponent's bench size to 3. Collapse Stadium limits both players' sides benches to 4. Not as broken as limiting at 3, but 4 is a still really good number, and just being able to even get rid of a bench sitter on your own side to even out or get rid of a heavily damaged Pokemon or an easy target is very valid, and that's why Collapse Stadium is here. Breaking into our top 3, we have Training Court. Training Court really was the only good stadium from the Sword and Shield era very early on. There wasn't really any other choice, and even still, it's great. Its simple value of just allowing people to recover a single basic energy card has proved great time and time again, whether it was just making sure you had an energy attachment for turn, or with the introduction of Radiant Greninja, allowing yourself that extra draw. Training Court has been the staple stadium of Sword and Shield. And just because Training Court was there first, doesn't mean it did it best. Pokestop is the next stadium, and I think is one of the best stadiums from Sword and Shield, even when it was introduced later in its lifetime. Pokestop allows each player the choice to discard the top 3 cards of their deck, putting any item cards they find from those top 3 cards in their hand. And though it seems very risky and more volatile, that's the type of format we're living in, and it fit in perfectly, accelerating decks and gameplay to high extremes. Oh, you just want to discard certain cards? Pokestop. Oh, you just want to make sure you find Switch? Pokestop. An item card? Again, it comes to Pokestop. It's just accelerated the way of gameplay, and it's gonna be used throughout its entire life. And here at the peak of our list is Path to the Peak. This one is very good and it was very popular. When it is in play, it gets rid of any abilities on Pokemon with rule boxes. There are so many different Pokemon with rule boxes, even throughout the history of Pokemon. This Path to the Peak has effects no matter what era you play in. I mean, some eras have different words for quote-unquote abilities, but man, is this card so good. And that is my top 10, well technically 11, stadiums from Sword and Shield. Let me know down below, was this list any good? Did he have any disagreements? Did I forget anything major? I sure hope I didn't. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye!